Hey, welcome to Preparing for Amazon and ONIX 3.0. I'm Tricia McCraney, a projects consultant at Virtue Sales. And just a bit of background, I've been working with ONIX since falling in love with it, way back at the turn of the century during my committee meeting in March of 2000. I'll tell you today a little bit about Virtue Sales. I'll talk about the state of the industry, about Amazon 3.0 and Amazon, where we are now, some of the benefits of ONIX 3, and if you're not ready now, how you get there. I will also talk at the end of the presentation a little bit about a new ONIX 3.0 solution that we're offering at Virtue Sales. But today, happily, I'm not alone. I'll be sharing commentary and conversations with some of our customers, Jake Furbush from Harvard University Press and Anne-Marie Begnot from Capstone Press, as well as industry favorites, Graham Bell and Chris Sainer from Editor. And with that, I think we can get started. Okay, so a little bit about Virtue Sales for those of you who don't know about us. We are a provider of publishing management software, and we provide industry-leading software that is customer-led. So it is continuously updated, so you're never on an old release, and we develop according to what our customers tell us they need and want. So you're always up to date and you stay that way. We are just as old as my experience with ONIX and just as old as the ONIX standard itself. We were founded in 2000, and importantly, Biblio is the only thing that we do. We are entirely focused on developing Biblio, and our team is made up of publishing experts from North America, the UK, Germany, worldwide, even Australia. And most of us have worked either in publishing houses or, at vendors across the industry. We have more than 130, I think almost 150 now, successful implementations of Biblio. And they range in size from very small, where we have 5 users on a system managing their publishing workflow, to having 2,000 or 2,500 users on a single instance of the software, and across many global offices. So that's a bit about us. Biblio is modular, meaning that you can, as a publisher, implement one or many of the modules that we have in the system. Those are bibliographic, which obviously is your title management and where you would manage any of your marketing data and any of your ONIX distribution that's fully included in the solution. Production, which is where you do your costing, estimating, manage all specification, scheduling, of course, everything from pre-acquisition to reprints. Digital asset management, which is really a digital asset workflow where you can store and manage any of your assets, whether they're covers or author images or EPUB files or whatever they are. Through to contracts, rights, and royalties, as we all know, that's kind of the end point. Everybody needs to pay royalties at some point, at least for a portion of their books. And then we also have a sales analytics or business intelligence module as well. So that's just the quick overview. Here's a snapshot of some of our customers, and on this slide you'll see large global firms and small to medium-sized firms, whether they be trade or corporate or independent, everything from, like I said, trade publishers to children's presses and scholarly or university presses. And you'll even see a couple of digital-only presses here. So wide variety of customers and clients. But now let's get into it and start talking about ONIX 3.0 and the state of the industry today. So right now, as I think everyone knows, ONIX 2.1 is still the primary format for metadata feeds in North America, and it is operational. Many publishers are sending 2.1, ONIX 2.1 files for print products while simultaneously sending ONIX 3.0 for digital products. even if it's to a single trading partner. And so what that means is we have different flavors of ONIX, and that's a topic in itself, but there are sometimes justified reasons for flavors of ONIX or acceptable reasons for flavors of ONIX. And this split where you might be sending 2.1 for print products to a single trading partner and 3.0 for digital products to the same partner is acceptable because you are creating two flavors based on justifiable reasons. 3.0 describes digital products far better than 2.1 ever did, so that makes sense. But going beyond that, creating what we call flavors of ONIX is a widespread practice, and we can talk about that a little bit more, but I'll turn it over to Jake Furbush from Harvard University Press, just a little clip that I have here of him talking about flavors of ONIX.
Anybody who's worked with ONIX for a period of time recognizes that it's a standard that's not used in standard ways. So depending on who the vendor is, they may interpret your data very differently from another vendor, or they may be looking for the same data in a different location, or they may be using your data to construct a string or something online that's not constructed in the same way elsewhere. So it's an incredibly helpful feature to be able to really tailor make those individual ONIX files to suit the needs of your vendor and to suit your own needs, because ultimately many of these ONIX feeds they result in a customer-facing display that you want to have some kind of control over. Certainly our marketing department is interested not only in getting the metadata out, but making sure that it looks good on the page. And with Biblio, we're able to certainly make strides in that direction.
So that was Jake live from Easter Island, as you may have seen. Really what he was talking about is the practice today of creating these flavors of ONIX and why Harvard University Press does it, and a little bit about how Biblio eases that process. And that will change and it will become easier with ONIX 3.0. So we've talked about the state of the industry today. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about ONIX 3.0 and Amazon. But first, I have some commentary from Graham Bell of Editor. Who better to talk about ONIX 3.0 and Amazon than Mr. Bell? Here we go.
The migration to ONIX 3, which started in some cases as early as 2012, has run at different speeds in different countries. The US, the UK and Germany have been amongst the slowest. But 9 months ago, Amazon announced a deadline. Any publisher delivering ONIX 2.1 to Amazon must switch to ONIX 3 by the end of 2020. There's 4 more months to go, and that includes the critical period running up to the holidays. Now, to be clear, the deadline is global. It applies to Amazon.com, to .co.uk and to .de and everywhere else too. And it applies to all physical products. There's no deadline yet for digital products, but we expect one to follow soon afterwards. I think that Amazon will pull other data recipients in its wake. I don't believe everybody will want to maintain 2 systems in parallel for very long. So on balance, whilst there's some short-term pain for publishers who've lagged and now need to catch up very quickly, it will be good for the sector as a whole to focus on a single version of the standard in the future.
Okay, so just to recap a little bit about where we are today. As Graham pointed out, we are currently in the midst of a countdown to ONIX 3.0 for Amazon. And BISG does have a countdown calendar that's been published. It was released in January 2020 when our countdown began, and it had a target date of August 28th, 2020 for supply chain readiness, meaning that everyone in the supply chain would be ready to send ONIX 3.0 as their needs allowed, or receive it if need be. So now we are at the point that Graham identified, which is between September and December of this year, we should all be sending and having test feeds in ONIX 3.0 format approved with Amazon. And those again are for print products only. Right now, most third-party book publishing management systems like Biblio are already ONIX 3.0 compliant. We have been for a long time. And we have publishers who have been sending ONIX 3.0 out of Biblio for years and years, particularly in the UK, but also in the US. Right now, some publishers, if they don't have a third-party system like ours, are working on their own proprietary implementations. So they're working in-house to get ONIX 3.0 out of their own databases or into them, depending. Or both. For others, Amazon's Vendor Central is providing tools to support the transition from 2.1 to 3.0. But to help publishers realize the benefits of 3.0, which are real, and which I'll talk about in a minute, Virtue Sales is offering a new standalone ONIX 3.0 solution, which is separate from our larger Biblio suite. And I will talk about that again at the end of this presentation, so hang tight if you're interested. But let's talk a little bit about the benefits of ONIX 3.0. And we do, kind of broadly in the industry, talk about them in terms of the enhancements and improvements that are offered in ONIX 3.0 in comparison to 2.1. And I'll touch on some of that as a recap of this next slide. But right now I'll introduce Chris Sainer from Editor, who will talk about the benefits of ONIX 3.0 from an internal workflow perspective at a publisher.
For internal workflow, it's a chance to review what data is stored where, who creates or updates this data, how this metadata is expressed in your ONIX feed, and how it relates to other information such as stock levels, sales data, rights, royalties, and so on. It's a chance to review different silos of information, their ownership by each department in your organization, and to either eliminate those silos or to make sure that the necessary links and data flows exist between them. It's also an opportunity to review who has overall responsibility for the quality of metadata before it leaves the company, to create good internal rules and best practices around metadata, and also to empower your metadata gatekeepers.
Okay, so what we heard from Chris is that ONIX 3.0 and the internal workflows really do empower you as creators of ONIX and the rest of the supply chain. And that the result of moving to ONIX 3.0 is consistent data that's clear, and that you can confidently send out into the world to market your books. So I'll just touch on each of those. In terms of consistency, the benefits of ONIX 3.0 are that we have discrete data elements or tags in ONIX. There's increased use of composites, which means that there are wrappers or containers for those tags that make sense and categorize them in a way that's meaningful and easy to understand. There's less redundancy, so no more deprecated data elements. ONIX is no longer backwards compatible in 3.0, so that's a big change, and it's a good one. And ultimately, it means that in 3.0, there's a place for everything, and if we're doing our job, everything is in its place. It also brings greater clarity. So in 3.0, the data is organized into blocks. And what you can see here is a screenshot of something in Biblio that we have that's called the ONIX Wizard. And what it does is it provides a tabular view of your ONIX product record for each title or edition that's in the system. And you can view that data against a recipient's profile. So for each recipient, we might have some selections in terms of how they prefer copy, whether it should be HTML encoded or not, things like that. So you can have access to that view. In this case, I'm looking at an Amazon record, and I can see the data displayed here according to the blocks in ONIX 3.0, product, descriptive detail, collateral detail, publishing detail, related material, and product supply. The summary is something that tells you when something is missing. We can see at the bottom of the screen here that there is a red X for product form feature type. So it's telling me that that's not populated. In this case, it may not need to be, but the summary tab would tell us if anything that is mandatory is missing. Okay, so clarity, data is organized into blocks, which makes it much easier to see, particularly if you're working in a system that has a view like this. Additionally, as everybody knows, digital products are accurately and properly and robustly described in 3.0. Sales and distribution rights are clearly stated. So now in 3.0, that ONIX product supply reflects the markets and the suppliers within them. It's really lovely and easy to interpret. And collections provide an opportunity for new ways of organizing and presenting non-traditional sets and series. So for example, you could describe a collection that is not based on a series order. It could be a collection of children's books, such as the Berenstain Bears, and you could include in that collection, for example, some higher margin products, like some leather-bound editions. Not that you would have those for Berenstain Bears, but you have the opportunity to include things that are not members of a series per se, but that you want to bring to the attention of anyone who might be viewing them and potentially buying those, gift or special products, okay? So we talked a little bit about each of those things, and really what these result in is confidence. So with ONIX 3.0, senders know where metadata goes. Recipients know where to find that metadata when they receive an ONIX 3.0 feed or file, and there should be fewer flavors of ONIX. This means that your marketing message is clear and direct. And when it comes down to it, that's what ONIX is. It's your marketing message. It's what you want to tell the world about your books. And every book that is purchased today is being purchased out of a database. And the ONIX is your output from that database, your database. But don't just take my word for it. Here's a little bit more from Chris Sainer.
ONIX 3 empowers the creators and consumers of good comprehensive metadata to challenge poor practice in the data supply chain, to push back against misuse of particular fields or demands for some unnecessary variation. I think for data receivers, a move to 3 allows for a more focused approach to data reception, as it reduces the need to manage older versions and allows time to concentrate on the quality of the data received, making best use of all the data to boost discovery, conversion, and sales, while ignoring, not rejecting, any small parts of the ONIX that are not applicable to them. And this process of simplification, of focusing on a single version, of getting rid of unnecessary flavors, opens up the possibility of using ONIX better for expressing information that may not have been included in the older 2.1 files for historic reasons, and then delivering that rich data to all your supply chain partners.
Okay, and so now the part that we're all here for, which is getting to ONIX 3.0. I'm not ready yet. What can I do? So if you're not here yet, of course, the first thing I would recommend is getting involved with your industry associations. So following the Book Industry Study Group in the US, BISG, BookNet Canada, of course, in Canada, my home and native land, BIC in the UK, and join your metadata committees, because they are actively talking about what companies are doing, how they're getting there, what challenges are being encountered, and really there is an active conversation happening, even with recipients and receivers, which is great. You can, of course, develop in-house solutions. You might rely on distributors, as many of us have done in the past. You might use Ingram Core Source. We love Ingram. They're a great partner for Virtue Sales, and you can use them together with other solutions, or of course on their own. Or you might go to an ONIX solution provider like us for third-party title management and ONIX distribution. And I'll talk a little bit about our final solution. I just have a couple minutes left in this presentation, but first I have Anne-Marie Begnot from Capstone talking about a recent implementation of Biblio, and it highlights things that are available in our new solution as well.
So yes, we've recently implemented Biblio, and I have to say we ended up implementing the ONIX portion earlier than what we had anticipated because we loved it so much and we were so excited to move over to ONIX through Biblio versus our third-party system that we were using. Some of my favorite things about ONIX through Biblio really all boil down to the control that we have over the feed. I love the ONIX wizard. That's probably my favorite thing because I'm able to troubleshoot the feed itself without actually running an ONIX file and having to dig through the XML. I can just look right in Biblio. It's really easy. It's very user-friendly, really intuitive, just looking in that wizard and looking for the particular field or tag that I want to hone in on. It's very simple. My other favorite thing about ONIX through Biblio, I think, would have to be the Run Now button. That was functionality that we did not have with our third-party system. I am able to immediately, at push of a button, click of a mouse, run an ONIX file for either testing purposes, evaluation purposes, or if we have just a small number of items that we want to send to a vendor outside of their regular Delta feed cycle. It's phenomenal.
Okay, so if you liked Anne-Marie's favorite things, you might be interested in our new solution, which really, we recognized a gap in the market and we wanted to help publishers simplify the management of their ONIX feeds and meet the needs of this point that we're at with Amazon right away. So we have a new solution that, like I said, is standalone from Biblio, our broader solution from the Biblio suite, but it's browser-based. It can be accessed from anywhere. You can use an Excel template, or you can use Biblio's ONIX ingester to bring in ONIX 2.1 as a starting point for a 3.0 file. That's what we're seeing here on the screen is a screenshot of the ONIX ingester. You would then define ONIX 3.0 recipients, so any of your trading partners, for example, Amazon and any of their preferences. So you would set their file transfer information and, of course, any preferences, like I said, around file encoding, HTML, in your copy, things like that. You can include BISAC subject codes, which we maintain in the system, and other industry standards like keywords and things like that, other industry standard metadata like keywords. You can send cover images as links in the file or as separate files or both. You can suppress titles or ISBNs from going out in your ONIX feed, and you can create and circulate reports on your own. You have full capability of managing that, including feed tracking, which will tell you what was sent to whom and when. So did that ISBN go out? You can find out really quite easily in Biblio. And that is the heart of it. That's our solution. If you want to find out more, you can go to our website, and if you scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, you'll see this Find Out More. You can just submit your name and email and, hey, please tell me more about this solution. No pressure. Feel free to reach out and we're happy to talk to you more about it. You can also email me, Tricia@virtuesales.com, and I'd be happy to discuss it, or anything and all things ONIX at any time. Okay, thank you everybody for attending. Now we'll open up the floor to questions. I have one question that came in, and in the chat, there is a chat available. There's a Q&A session, and you can post any questions there, and we'll try to answer them as best as we can. The first one that came in is, can I still send ONIX 2.1 to Amazon after I submit my 3.0 feed? The answer is yes and no. You can continue sending your 2.1 feed to Amazon throughout the testing process, but once you submit a 3.0 file to Amazon through Vendor Central, you will have the option of pressing the button to actually migrate from 2.1 to 3.0. So Amazon will test your file, they'll provide feedback. In our experience, what's happening is if it passes right away, it's almost an immediate process. If it doesn't pass right away, then Amazon evaluates it and comes back to you, usually within about 72 hours with any changes that need to be made. But there is a point at which the publisher or the user who has submitted the the file presses a Launch Now button to migrate. Once that migration happens, then you can no longer send ONIX 2.1 for print products. So remember, this is print products only. And I would underscore that it's really important right now to make sure that if you're not already sending ONIX 3.0 for digital products, that you do not start including those in your test file. So your test feed to Amazon right now during this period should be print products only. And digital products should be handled separately, whether that's still in 2.1 or in 3.0 if you've already established that with Amazon. So I hope that answers that question. Another question that's come in, does Biblio already have the facility to send tracking reports? For example, a summary list of titles sent in an ONIX to the user and to the recipient. Yes, we do. Our reports module has a canned feed tracking report that tells you who the recipient is, the date that the file was sent, and you can build up the details of that report so that they include any other data points that you want. And you would have to include the recipient on that email circulation, but that's fine. That's absolutely allowed. You can do that. Okay, a couple of other questions. Good question. Who are the metadata committees? Okay, each of the national book industry groups, which would be Book Industry Communication in the UK, BISG, or the Book Industry Study Group in the US, BookNet Canada in Canada, has a working committee for metadata. And that's something that you as a member, if you're a member of each of those organizations, can join. Virtue Sales, we represent our customers on those committees, along with Editor and any other there are a lot of industry associations who also sit on those committees. Another question, how prevalent are block level updates and how widely are they supported? I would say they are still not widely supported. There are a very small number of recipients who actually take block updates. I can only think of a few in my head, honestly. ONIX 3, of course, was designed so that you don't have to send the entire product record, and you should only be able to send block updates if you need to. So for example, only marketing data in a collateral detail block, but that is not quite happening out in the supply chain yet. More questions. We are, hang on a second. Can you offer any advice about how to avoid sticky title records on Amazon? For example, how to avoid severing the connection between sending ONIX updates and those updates actually getting through to the Amazon titles product pages. How to avoid sticky title records, avoid severing the connection between sending ONIX updates and those updates actually getting through. I'm not sure I understand avoiding. If you don't want to send ONIX updates to Amazon, you can suppress those titles in your ONIX schedules that are going out of Biblio. If you are wanting to make sure that updates go through, that's, I guess, another question. If you're sending an update to ONIX to Amazon, it should go through, and I would need to know more specifics on that. But that's okay. The feed tracking report in Biblio, someone is asking where that is. It's under, it is in the reports module, and it's under feed management, and I can follow up on that afterwards. We are selling to Amazon with an Amazon Advantage account. Is the move to ONIX 3 available through them? My understanding is that no, Amazon Advantage does not support ONIX 3.0. You would have to confirm with them, but what I'm hearing is that customers who are with Amazon Advantage and don't have a vendor central account are not able to move to ONIX 3.0, or at least are having difficulty doing that. So there were a couple of questions about that, and to my knowledge, that's where we are. And I don't know when Amazon will take a 3.0 feed for those with Amazon Advantage accounts. That's a follow-up question. Okay, how common is it for publishers to supply specific stock and supplier related info in their ONIX feeds? This question says we really focus on title related metadata and don't do much that's not consumer facing besides discount and rights info. You cannot supply stock and supplier, you cannot supply stock information in your ONIX feed. However, you can supply, you can send supplier related information if you have a distributor other than yourself. You would want to include that in ONIX, absolutely. So for example, if you're a publisher in the US and you have a UK based distributor, you would want to include that with pricing for the UK market in your ONIX feed, or you would want to list yourself as the supplier if you're a supplying domestically for yourself. But stock information is not included in ONIX. There are separate sidecar feeds that usually go for price and availability information. Good. I think that is someone says, is it very difficult to open an Amazon Advantage account? I'm not sure, as I haven't done it personally, but I don't believe so. Okay, I think that might be all of the questions we have. Thank you, everybody. Just as a reminder, you can always email me at Tricia, Tricia, at virtuesales.com, and or go to our website and submit any questions there, particularly with respect to our ONIX 3.0 service, which converts your existing 2.1 to 3.0. Or if you need any support submitting the file to Amazon, let us know via Tracker.